Welcome everybody to our Thursday night chat this night about hydration. And if you're watching at home or you're watching live, I'd first want to thank our sponsors. There's ASICS, Electrolyte, we have Volvo, our car company, and Goo is the gel that's going to be out on the course. And I already said Electrolyte is the drink that will be on the course. And I thank all of you for logging in live and for those of you at home watching. So let's get the party started right here and now. There it is, our thank you screen. Let's get through all that. And if you have a body, you are an athlete. That's me. That's a little quote, the book I wrote. Okay, done with all that. So tonight's chat is I briefly want to talk about taper. We're going to talk about that at greater length next week and how important it is. So after next week, keep in mind this week and next week are the end of build weeks for all you guys except groups 0 through 4. Group 0 through 4 actually only has a 2.5 week taper, where everyone else has a 3-week taper. That would be our 4-hour marathon finishers or faster have just a 2.5 week taper. They go Monday, Tuesday of the week after, and then they start taper where we start on Monday. Pardon me. And so get ready for taper, because don't just add an extra week of build, because taper can be the greatest increase in fitness that you have in the entire season. The average person gains 3% energy output just during taper alone. Your strength goes up, your hormone levels go up. We're going to talk about that a lot more next week, but just get it in your head now, plant it now, that taper means taper, and there's a far greater benefit than doing one more week of build, one more week of speed work, one more whatever. Taper. So that's where we want to begin tonight's chat. Get ready, it's coming. After next week, what is that, like 10 days from now, we're on taper? That's outrageous in my opinion, but get ready for it. It is coming. Whoops. And
Is 18 the most they run?
what's that? I don't know what that was, but at any rate, was somebody have a question? No? Okay. Anyways, so I want to talk about a little bit about strength and stretch. And then, of course, the main body of this discussion is really how much hydration do you calculate in advance for race day? What do you need on race day in terms of just taking in liquid? Because that is so critical to the outcome of your marathon. Along with, we've already talked about sodium, we've talked about carbohydrate, we've talked about more, and now we're going to talk about hydration, which really is important. At any rate, so strength and stretch. This is a really good time, especially during taper, to get in some extra strength training, some extra stretch time. Really focus now on building the flexibility, the strength that you need for race day. That's all I'm really going to say about that. If you need to know, there are some online tools for strength training for marathoners that are under the Evolution Physical Therapy thing. We've had some videos from them that are still on our Facebook-group page. Excuse me, LA Roadrunner-group page on Facebook. You can look up our the Evolution Fitness videos that you can kind of follow along with, or I'd even be glad to send you some good suggestions for strength training, whether you work out in a gym or not, and get in those gentle stretches. If you're tight anywhere, those 3-minute stretches, 3 minutes long per muscle group, and left and right, both 3 minutes each, with 10-second repetitions. In other words, hold it gently for 10 seconds, release for about a second or two, then hold it again 10 seconds, and do that 18 sets of 10 seconds. That's 880 seconds, which is 3 minutes. You will more permanently elongate the muscle rather than doing those 30-second stretches. And by all means, get on the ground when you do your stretches. Get your weight off those legs. Bending over to try and do your hamstring stretch, you're basically tightening the hamstring to keep from falling forward. If you're bending over forward to stretch your hamstring, doesn't work. Get on the ground. Get all the weight off your legs. Get your muscles totally relaxed. Whatever it is that you're stretching, get on the ground, get the weight off of you, and do those 3-minute stretches if you're tight somewhere. And gently start now. So race day, you're going to be amazing, and that will enable you to go faster. We do have tendons that work as rubber bands in our hips. And when we drive our knee forward, that rubber band stretches out. And about 40% of the power output that you get is from that tendon, that rubber band releasing when you push that raised leg back, or I should say raised knee back, and that's going to force, that backward force is going to thrust you forward. So get in those stretches. If that hip flexor is tight, you're going to be using more energy to get that tendon stretched out, and you're going to be losing kinetic energy. You're going to be losing energy when that muscle, that tendon, releases, pushing back. You're going to be expending more energy and gaining less. Release. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So, hydration. What do you need to do to calculate hydration in advance to your race? Well, figure, now hydration can come from water, hydration can come from electrolyte, either one. Figure that each cup of electrolyte or of water, these are 8-ounce cups, and figure you're getting about half of the cup on the average. It depends on the volunteer. How much do they fill the cup? But if you're getting in half a cup, which is pretty common, first of all, on race day, pinch the cup so it's no longer round, right? So pinch the cup so you have kind of a little V funnel, and then just drink right back, and you'll get more liquid in your mouth, and you won't get any liquid with that round open cup around your face and up your nose, and it's painful when it goes up your nose. So pinch that cup and kick it back, and you'll get more liquid in your mouth quicker. So figure 4 ounces per cup on the average, the half a cup. These are 8-ounce cups. These are the same white cups that we use every weekend at Santa Monica Roadrunners, or at the end of Griffith Park, or Newport Beach. Those paper white cups, they're 8-ounce cups, identical cups on race day. You will know the cups that have electrolyte because they'll be white cups, same size, but it will say electrolyte on the cups that have electrolyte in them. And I believe that the tables will begin with, I know that's going to be one or the other. It'll either begin with water tables and then electrolyte table, and then water and then electrolyte, or it'll begin with one or the other, water or electrolyte first table, and then on, mixed up back, as you go. Usually there are about 10 tables on either side of the street. Streets are, of course, closed on marathon race day. So one thing you may want to do to figure out how much water or liquid you need per hour, right? Figure you need like 4 cups, 4 8 ounces of, oh, that makes no sense. You need about 8 ounces of liquid every 15 minutes, okay? So that would basically be 2 cups every 7.5 minutes, right? So if you're going like a 10-minute per mile pace, theoretically, you could almost skip you could almost, or faster, I should say, you could almost do one table, then, excuse me, two tables and then skip a table, then two tables and skip a table, something like that. I should say two water stops and then skip a water stop. If you're slower than that, you probably want to hit just about every water stop there is. Again, there are like several tables per water stop. You do like one table each water stop, anyway, 1 cup or so. You could, if it's getting warmer, take 1 cup of electrolyte and 1 cup of water, dump the water on the back of your neck and drink the electrolyte. The water will cool your neck off, will cool your body off, which could be important on a hot day when it's getting up into the 80s or so. Or even if you're just feeling hot, you can do something like that. Don't worry about the cup. Street sweepers will clean them all up, and guys with rakes will help do the process in advance of the street sweepers. But just throw your cups on the ground. Unlike training, please do not do that in training, because I am the street sweeper, and nobody wants to pick up like 200 paper cups off the ground, which I would be the one to be doing that. So please put them in the box or whatever, or stack them during training, especially the next 2 weeks when we have so many cups. But so weigh yourself in the morning naked before your run, at home, obviously, or before you run your one walk or your walk. We're talking to everybody who's a road runner here, runners, run walkers, and walkers. Calculate the weight. Then after you run, hopefully, go home. Don't go to the restaurant yet. Or, if you want, hey, throw your scale in your car. And theoretically, you could, it would be better if you weighed yourself naked, because after your run or run, walk, or walk, your shirt is still going to be soaked with sweat. So that's water you've lost, but it would still be on your clothes when you weighed in. So it's better if you do it naked before and after, just to get rid of that extra water in your clothes for after, because that's no longer in your body, if that makes sense. Figure that 1 pound of weight, if you lose 1 pound of weight before the beginning of your run and after your run, that equals 16 ounces of liquid. Okay. So if you have taken in, like 8 cups, half filled, with 4 ounces in 8 cups, that's 8 times 4 is 24 ounces, and you lost a pound, which is 16 ounces more. Do the math. You then need to add 24 plus 16, right? You already took in 24. You didn't just lose all that. You took in 24, plus you lost 16 ounces from the 1 pound. If it's 1.5 pounds, what would that be? It'd be 24 ounces in 1.5 pounds, something like that. My math is terrible just off the top of my head. So it'd be 24, which would be 48 ounces. Calculate how many hours you were out there, or fractions of an hour. If you were out there for 4 hours, that 48 ounces that you lost, or took in, means, divided by 4, means that you need to take in at least 6 ounces of hydration per hour. Is that right? Or is that horribly wrong? At any rate, something like that. I guess that would be about right. 6 ounces of hydration per hour. That seems very little. At any rate, 1 pound equals 16 ounces. Add up all the ounces you've taken in per cup drinking during the run, walk, or walk, and calculate ounces from weight loss, and then add it all together, divide it by the hours or fractions of hours you've been out there. That's how much liquid you definitely need. And you might even benefit from more than that. And especially on a hot day, if it's a warmer day than the day you test, you're going to need more. So that's the calculation. you can calculate your pace, and you can also calculate how many tables you're going to hit on race day. Keep in mind, I shouldn't say tables, I should say stops, water stops or hydration stops. How many stops will you get for electrolyte or water per hour of the race? So then you know how many ounces you're going to need per hour, and you know about 4 ounces per cup. And if you're a 10-minute pacer, for example, 10-minute runner, 10-minute per mile runner, you're going to hit 6 tables per hour, right? Slower than that will be less stops. More than that will be more stops, right? But 10-minute pace is just an easy pace to calculate. That'll be 6 water stops. That will be 6 times 4 is 24. You will be taking in 24 ounces of liquid every hour, which seems kind of reasonable for someone at that pace, for an average body height, body weight, a reasonable amount per hour at that pace. So you might want to calculate, how many ounces per hour do you need? And there you go. Whoops. Whoa, I jumped the gun here. Basically, I already said that I didn't say the total. During the LA Marathon, starting at like mile 1.5-ish, there are 24 water and electrolyte, I should say, stops, with about 10 tables per stop on both sides of the street. What I did not mention before was that the number of stops, there are 24 possible, right? And I do recommend, calculate out how much you need per hour and calculate how many stops your pace will hit per hour with one, basically every mile. What is your mile pace per mile? Calculate how many stops you will hit in every hour and how many ounces you need per hour, and see how they match up. Maybe if you're a walker, you might need to take like 1 cup of electrolyte and maybe half a cup of water every water stop, something like that. You may need more. And like I said, faster runners could miss a table every 3rd water table. They'd just skip it. Calculate the math. That's an important calculation. Hydration is critical. Now, I want to say one more thing about hydration, and that's actually not on my screen, but hydration will deplete mineral reserves. Now, I said this last week during the sodium discussion. Don't worry about depleting mineral reserves and take in less than what you need in hydration. You need what you need in hydration. If you're not getting it in, keep in mind, your blood is a liquid. When you become dehydrated, you have less blood, meaning that the same amount of red blood cells delivering oxygen have to flow through the same veins and arteries to go through your lungs and heart, and you have less blood to do it with, which means your heart is going to be working harder if you don't get in the hydration that you need. So sodium needs are totally separate from hydration needs and just as important. Calculate your sodium needs, calculate your hydration needs. If you need more sodium than what you're going to get in gels, don't worry about taking in too much hydration. If you need it, you need it. You don't want to raise your heart rate, because as we know from previous discussions, as your heart rate goes up and up and up and up, you're going to use more and more and more and more glycogen. And as you use more and more and more glycogen, you're going to come closer and closer and closer to hitting the wall. And hitting the wall does not mean you're going to be power walking. It means you're going to be like sluggishly walking or maybe even stopping on occasion because you've just burned yourself out. You no longer have enough carbohydrate in the form of glycogen. Got it? So you don't want to dehydrate yourself and raise your your heart rate. And you do need sodium to absorb hydration. So everything needs to balance out. This is a giant, I said it last week, marathoning is a giant mathematical calculation. If you screw it up, you're in trouble. If you get it right, you'll have a PR as long as your fitness levels are a little more than they were previously. Obviously, if this is your first marathon, you're going to have a PR, whatever the heck you do, as long as you finish, because personal record, PR, personal record, it's your only fastest race. You've never done a race before to match it with. So you will have a PR from finishing. But and give yourself some place to go. Don't feel like you have to race it and do your lifetime best. Next year you can do a faster one, just do a little more volume, get the numbers, the math correct, your sodium, your hydration, your carbohydrate intake, all of those critical things. Those are things we need to start working on doing the math for now. So there you go. I leave you with this idea. Train smart and train to win. Because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. I thank you all for chiming in. That's it for me. And I will see you all at the finish line. And there we go. For anyone doing the listening to the recording, well, hang on. Maybe there are some interesting questions you might hear, but I am done with my shtick on hydration for today's discussion. Does anyone have any questions? Please like I said, scroll your cursor across the screen and talk, or let me open the chat box. Looks like I have two things. Oh, Mel says now or never, Coach David. Okay. And let's see. Oh, here we go. Kat, what are your thoughts on running with a hydration belt? Well, I have usually, this is my problem. In the past, this is me, this is my thing only, just as an example. In the years past, when they had Gatorade, keep in mind, there's no Gatorade on this course. It's electrolyte, which I can do electrolyte. I'm actually really fine with electrolyte. Although electrolyte has fewer carbohydrate than Gatorade, which enables you to digest more of it, drink more of it, and it has less sodium. So you may need to take in more gels, also have a lot of sodium and a lot of carbs. So you may want to do a gel every 40 minutes, where before maybe you were doing a gel every 45 minutes or every 50 minutes, or on the hour, and doing Gatorade in the middle. Well, now maybe the math will lead you to do a gel every 40 minutes or something, or baby food with a mineral pill, which is probably what I would do. Although they will have goo on the course in two different places. So when we had Gatorade, when we had Gatorade, I would wear a fuel belt with some powder in each of my 4 fuel bottles. Fuel belt has 4 7-ounce bottles, 4 of them on the belt, elastic belt. There are other ways to carry liquid and stuff. And have the powder of my choice. And that's the way I would do the marathon. I would not need that today. But for some of you who want something different or more than just electrolyte, and you have your drink of choice, whatever it may be, by all means, wear a hydration belt or a hydration backpack. On the other hand, for me today, I do great with electrolyte, and I think of it as a great product. And there will be a water table every mile, pretty much, of the LA Marathon. So you really don't need to carry a hydration belt unless you're really maybe a slow walker and you're not going to hit that many water tables that quick. There again, another mathematical equation. How many water tables will you hit in an hour? Just hydration alone, y'all need probably about what did I say? About 8 ounces every 15 minutes, something like that, which means two stops, 2 cups every 15 minutes. If you're doing like 14 minutes per mile, that would mean you'd need like 2 cups per stop. So you may, in between, want to take some hydration with you and a hydration belt if you're really like a 14-minute per mile walker or something like that. That would make sense. Faster runners, there'd be no sense to carry a hydration belt unless you were like me. And in this case, you couldn't do electrolyte, which I can do. So today I would not wear a hydration belt, but in past years with Gatorade, I would have and always did because I couldn't do Gatorade. So hopefully, Kat, that answered your question. DJ, don't know if you got my email. I don't think I did, but I had a question about how many miles I should be running this Saturday with my Griffith Park group. I'm running Tokyo Marathon, is March the 3rd. Oh, got it. So you have a marathon coming up in 2 weeks. I thank you for all you do for us, Coach David. I've learned so much joining LARR. I cannot thank you enough. Well, I thank you for that positive comment, DJ. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Every human, there's a book called Tapering and Peaking by some guy who was a professor at Bath University. They did extensive studies on endurance athletes. Guy named Inigo Mujica wrote this book, Tapering and Peaking. It's a really good book. They found, and I haven't met the guy, they found that everyone, even pro athletes, benefit from a 2-week taper before a race. You may note we had a 2-week taper before the Rose Bowl half marathon. Only half, we had a 2-week taper. So obviously our volume wasn't up that much. You didn't really need a 3-week taper. Now our volume is getting way up there. Total volume during the week, I'm not just talking about runs on the weekend. We went from 17 miles, we're going up to 20, but the midweek has really expanded as well, the total week volume. So I would say, don't go 18, 20 miles this weekend. All the groups and all the locations who are 4-hour marathoners this weekend or faster are going 20 miles this weekend. Everyone else is going 18. So I would say really cut it in about half. Do like 10 miles this Saturday with the group as best as you can, depending on the location that you're in. Find like a 5-mile point where you can come back 5 miles on your own, or where there's a turnaround point. All the maps are now on Facebook, and take a look and see where you can, kind of turn around and come back maybe a little bit on your own. Newport Beach, there's a pretty good, like about an 8-miler, I would say, before you have about a mile to come back on your own, something like that. So you'll be close. 7 miles, something like that, in Newport Beach. That's almost like possibly the best one for that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely start your taper now. You can even use the last 2 weeks of the LA Marathon schedule for your actual taper. Whatever it says, it's probably about 10 miles for the second to last week, which is what we are going to be doing March the 2nd from Dodger Stadium when we do the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. We will go on to do 10 miles total, everyone. There is 1 mile back from the end of the 6-mile to back to the stadium. And then we'll do a 3-mile loop around the stadium, not all the way up and around, but around the parking lot where it's a little flatter. 3-mile loop. That's March the 2nd. About the day before you're doing your race in Tokyo, which I hear is an amazing race. And one of the best the top 6 in the world. So you're going to be doing one of the majors, as they call them, one of the 6 majors in the world. Congratulations in advance. March the 3rd, Tokyo Marathon. That's exciting. So start your taper now. Jump to that second to last week before your race, and on our schedule and the schedule that you're on now, whatever level schedule you're on the LA Roadrunner, the bottom of the LA Roadrunner schedule, you'll find 1 through 5. Unless you're in group 0 or 1A, and that's a whole different schedule, you can email me and I'll send it to you. DJ, thank you, says DJ. G Park. Oh, good. Well, thank you. Anyway, and that's all I have from the chat for now. Does anyone, oh, DJ got it, tapering right now. You are tapering this very minute. Good for you. Good choice. Anybody else, either via the chat or anyone with a question? Whoops, shrink that back down. Verbal or in the chat box. Any questions for anybody? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, with that, I'm going to say thank you for everybody who's watching at home on live or on the video chat. I'm going to turn off my recording and thank all of you for watching the non-live recording of this thing. And I'm going to say to you people, good night. And to everybody else, I'll be on for a little while longer. And here we go. Good night to those watching the recording.